Happy Friday, everyone. Glad you guys could make it. Let's start standing on our mats. We'll start standing up. We've been doing that for a few months now, and I think it's actually been kind of fun to get started upright versus lying down. We'll get there soon enough. As always, you want your mat. You might want a little towel roll to put under those knees to get a little bit of padding if you feel like you need a little extra when we're on hands and knees on that mat. And as always, again, if anything we do during the class does not feel good for you, I will try to make a few modifications. But if you feel like you need to be doing something different, that's absolutely fine. You go with what feels good in your body, and that might change day to day, week to week. We need to respect that and then push through what we can. All right, let's start with our feet hip width apart. Feet are going to be parallel, toes are pointing straight ahead. Let's take a big breath in through the nose and a big breath out through the mouth. Again, big breath in through the nose. This time we'll take those arms up and overhead. Touch those fingertips together at the top, and then we'll exhale and bring our arms down. Let's get our weight centered right over the front of those ankle joints. We'll lift our toes up, feeling the arches come along for the ride. They'll lift up as well. Spread those toes apart, and then let's take them down one at a time, starting with the pinky toe. We'll drop those toes to the floor, pressing the pad of the big toe down last, and then let's repeat. Lift those toes, spread them apart, drop them down one at a time. You'll notice that arch stays nice and lifted. And we're trying to keep our heels pressed firmly into the floor as those toes move. This lets us warm up the balls of the feet, get some prep for all the work that they have to do later on during the class. Let's roll those pinky toes, fourth, third, second, and first toes down to the mat, and then we'll soften up our knees, take our hands right to our midsection. Once those hands are right in the belly button, we'll take the heels of the hands, press them into our hip bones. Fingertips cross each other right around that belly button, and let's shift toward our toes and toward our heels. As you move, maybe you feel some muscles starting to work or reorient as we shift our weight differently according to our base. Forward and back, you'll feel those core muscles kicking in maybe a little bit more as you hit those end ranges of your support. Coming right back to the front of the ankle joints, let's move our hands to our waistline now. Fingertips in front, thumbs behind. With soft knees, we'll push the weight side to side from foot to foot, and you should feel a little more pronounced effort through that midsection. You'll feel those muscles around the waistline tightening and releasing as we shift from foot to foot. And we can shake up that base a little bit more by making circles around it. The body's moving as one unit from the ankle all the way up to the crown of the head. We're trying to keep those toes, those heels pressed into the mat. And again, we'll feel that core turn on and off in a little circular fashion as we move. And let's circle the other direction. Keep reaching that crown of the head upward. Feel those muscles turn on and off through the front and back of your trunk. Coming right back over those ankle joints. Let's take our arms down by our sides. And now we're going to bring our feet apart a little wider than our shoulders. Let's point those toes out just slightly, and we'll bend those knees just enough that we can feel our sit bones drop toward the floor. Keep that belly drawn in. We're going to draw it toward the spine like we're tightening a little seatbelt of muscles between those two hip bones. Keeping those muscles nice and active. Let's take a big breath in, drawing those arms overhead. Clasp your palms, press them toward the ceiling, straightening those elbows as best we can. We're going to try to line up ears and elbows with each other. Keeping that belly drawn in. Excuse me. Let's take a tall side bend toward one top corner of our room. We'll inhale up to the ceiling, and then exhaling, let's side bend the other direction. Inhale up, exhale, side bend. Again, inhale up and exhale, side bend. Let's take those arms to the ceiling. We'll straighten out our knees. We can bring those arms out to the side, lined up with our trunk, shoulder height, and let's make some small circles, moving those arm bones in that shoulder socket. We're reaching out to the sides with the tips of the middle fingers, drawing a circle on the wall out to the sides. Here's 3, here's 2, here's 1. Let's circle and move the other direction. It's always perfectly fine to have your arms a little bit lower than shoulder height if that feels more comfortable. They could be slightly farther in front of the body if you need to take tension off your chest. Here's 3. Here's 2, and here's 1. As the arms come down by our sides, we'll bring those feet into that narrow base of support. Let's roll those shoulders back and down for 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. And let's move to one edge of our mat. We're going to take a quarter turn so we're facing lengthwise. Let's get a little warm up through the lower half of the body, the backs of the legs before we make our way down to our mat. We're going to keep those knees nice and soft. We'll take our hands right to where the hips and pelvis fold into each other. And let's tip the body forward, tip that trunk forward, moving it as one unit. We're going to pause when we first start to feel a little stretch or resistance to motion behind those thighs. Hold that position there. And let's lower our hands down. We're gonna let them swing like their little elephant trunks, swinging, pointing those fingertips down to the mat. Now let's draw the belly toward the spine and let's bend our knees a bit more. Send that tailbone back to the floor behind you. Those shins are gonna stay fairly still. And as we bend those hips, taking that bottom down toward the floor, our fingertips should come toward the floor. Maybe they touch, maybe they stay at mid shin height. It's gonna depend on the mobility you have through the backs of your thighs and also how much work your quads wanna do for you, the front of the thighs. Let's wiggle those knees. We're gonna straighten them a bit and bend them a little bit. Send that tailbone to the ceiling and then down to the floor. It's okay if your hands aren't on the mat. If you're not feeling as much here, you could always take your hands flat to the floor and move up and down. Let's straighten and bend those knees for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. We'll pause again at that first point of resistance. Let's keep the belly drawn in as we draw our trunk a little higher off the mat. And let's squeeze those blades back for a row. Release them, bringing the hands toward the floor. Squeeze the blades, bring those elbows up, release them to the floor. Let's repeat, row for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. We're gonna pause those elbows in line with our trunk and press those triceps. Straighten the elbows, bringing the hands back to the wall behind you. Bend and straighten, bend and straighten. Here's 4, here's 3, trunk stays nice and still. Last 2, and 1, arms stay straight, take a big breath in. As we exhale, we'll bring our hands down to the floor and let's walk our way out toward the mat. We're gonna come into a kneeling position. Hold it here. Turn the tops of the toes under. We're gonna press the balls and feet into the floor and send those heels toward the wall behind us. Keep that belly toward the spine. And let's rock the bottom back to the heels. And let's come back to that all fours position. Rock back toward the heels, come back up tall. We're picturing an object in the small of the back, staying nice and still as we move through those hips. Rock for 3, rock for 2, rock for 1. Come right back up to all fours. We can turn the tops of those feet back down to the floor. And let's draw that belly up toward the ceiling, moving up into our cat curl, looking toward those thighs. And then let's keep the belly drawn in slightly as we release toward a cow position, sending that breastbone to the wall in front of us, tailbone toward the ceiling. Curl to cat, control to cow. 1 final time here, curl to cat, control to cow. Take it back to neutral, shoulders stay square, and let's rock those hips side to side. Take a hip to a shoulder and the opposite hip to the shoulder, opposite shoulder, like a happy dog wagging its tail. 1 more time each direction, side to side. Let's take those hips back to neutral. We're gonna keep our feet together and our knees apart. Let's drop the bottom down toward the heels and walk those hands toward the front of the mat. We're gonna try to walk those hands out with the elbows as straight as we can get them. If you hit a point under the arms or in the armpit where you feel like you can't take it any further, go ahead and bend those elbows, take some slack back into the system. We're gonna lower our forehead toward the floor, whether those elbows are straight or bent. And let's just wiggle our armpits down toward the mat slightly. We're rotating through our spine. We're getting one side of that trunk pressing toward the floor as the other side opens up to the opposite wall, and reverse. If the elbows are bent, it's gonna look relatively similar as that armpit lifts up and lowers down for 4. Switch it for 3. Here's 2, and here's 1. Let's take those arms back to a neutral position facing the floor. We'll drop the forearms down if they've been lifted by bending the elbows. Let's shift the weight over those forearms and we'll take our legs back behind the body. We're now resting on those upper thighs with our hip bones slightly lifted off the mat. Let's take 2 deep breaths here, pressing those shoulder blades toward the floor and keeping that chin nodded toward the neck. Big breath in, big breath out. 1 more time here, big breath in, big breath out, and let's push the floor away with those forearms. We're gonna shift our weight from side to side toward the screen and away, toward the screen and away. 1 more time, shift toward the screen, shift it away. Come right back to the middle, take a big breath in. Exhaling, let's come down to the mat. We're gonna roll onto our backs and let's bend up our knees, lining those heels up with our sit bones. Let's picture that pelvic clock face. We're gonna picture a clock face on the pelvis and abdomen, 12 o'clock by that breastbone, 6 o'clock by the pubic bone, 3 and 9 on either side. With those hands on the mat, we're gonna nod the chin gently toward the neck, lengthening the back of the neck into the floor. Let's widen our collarbones away from the center of the body, pressing those shoulder blades down. And picturing that clock face, we're gonna move our pelvis from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Shorten that pubic bone up toward the breastbone, letting the low back imprint on your mat. Lengthen that pubic bone down towards 6 o'clock. Shorten to 12, lengthen to 6. And the big goal here is to keep that upper body, anything from that rib cage up should stay nice and still as that pelvis tilts. 12 to 6. One more time, 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Let's come right back to neutral. We're going to gently draw that belly a little bit closer to our spines, tightening that seatbelt between those two hip bones. And let's rock our pelvis from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. We're going to keep those thighs and feet nice and still. We'll rock that hip closest to the screen up toward the ceiling, letting the opposite side translate toward the mat, 3 o'clock. Let's rock through neutral and over to 9 o'clock. That hip closest to the screen comes down toward the floor as the opposite hip pivots up toward the ceiling. Let's rock here, 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Feel and appreciate how your feet are pushing unevenly into the mat to keep that lower half of your body nice and still as that pelvis moves. Let's rock one more time to 3 o'clock through neutral, one more time to 9 o'clock. We'll come right back to the middle with that belly drawn toward the spine. Let's bring one knee up to 90-degree tabletop. Hold it right there. With the belly staying down toward the spine, maybe we need to pull that knee a little closer in toward the chest. Let's bring our other knee up to meet it in tabletop position. Bringing both hands to the front of the thighs, we're going to gently press those hands and thighs toward each other. Doesn't take much pressure before you start to feel your core doing a little more work. We can add to that downward pressure by maybe arcing the heels of the hands slightly up toward the ceiling. What that'll do when you give yourself that gentle upward sweep is it gets those contractions more in the lower part of the abdomen versus isolating them up by the rib cage. We're going to hold here. You are welcome to bring those knees a little closer to your chest if you need to decompress your back. Take some breaths. If that's still not working for you, add a kickstand. Drop one foot down to the floor. We're going to hold here and breathe. Inhale and exhale. 2 more times. Big breath in. Big breath out. Last one. Big breath in. On that exhale, we'll keep that belly drawn down. Let's arc our arms forward toward the wall in front of us, stopping them to hover just slightly up off the floor. Stretch those fingertips toward the wall in front of you. And maybe we nod the chin and lift the head. Maybe we curl that upper body up. Hold. Let's pat our hands up and down for our 100 breaths. We're going to inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep that pattern going. If you do need to move a little more quickly or a little slower than I am, it's absolutely fine. I'm giving you guidelines. Maybe we need a little kickstand down for assistance, whether that head is up or whether it's down. Maybe we want that second leg down as we go. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. I'm going to straighten my legs, add a little complexity, and exhale. I'm going to take those legs forward a bit and exhale. Feel the extra challenge on those trunk muscles as those legs come forward. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale. Flip those palms over. Let's press the air to the ceiling. Again, inhale. Breathe it out. Inhale and exhale. Last time, inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, breathe it out. Pause where you are, big breath in. Exhaling, those knees pull the tabletop. Let's curl that upper body down if it's been lifted. We'll take our hands down to the mat, widen those collarbones away from the middle of the body, and let's bring our feet down to the mat to release. All right, let's take a couple big breaths here. Rolling that head, looking over one shoulder. Rolling that head, looking over the other shoulder. Let's take it right back to neutral. We're going to pull that leg farthest from the screen all the way into the chest and lengthen that opposite leg out straight along the floor, tightening up the front of that thigh. Let's keep it nice and tight. We might get a little hip flexor stretch here. Keeping that belly button drawn in and that thigh nice and active. Hover that supporting leg up off the floor. Keep it there and let's draw that leg side to side, taking care to move out of that hip joint while keeping the trunk and pelvis nice and still. We're going to keep that leg going side to side. And if you'd like to add to it, we could lift that head, keeping the chin knotted. We could curl the upper body up. Draw that leg back to the center and circle it. We'll circle for 4, 3. Look long past those toes or where you'd imagine them to be if your head is down. Let's circle the other way. Here's 4, 3, 2. Good job. 1. Lower that head if it's been lifted, and we're going to switch it up. Pull that other knee in. Press the opposite leg forward along the mat, tightening up the front of that thigh. We'll draw the belly in and locate that hip flexor that's stretching on that straight leg side. Keep the belly down, hover that supporting leg up off the floor, and let's move that leg side to side. Again, taking care to make sure we're moving out of that hip joint while keeping the pelvis nice and still. If you'd like, we can nod the chin, lift that head, maybe even add that upper body curl. And let's move to some circles. Reach those toes forward for 4, 3, 2, and reverse it. We'll take it the other way for 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. Let's speed it up here. Pull the other knee in, press that opposite leg forward. Pull and press. We could always press those toes a little closer to where the wall and ceiling meet, again, to take some pressure off of those abdominals. We could have the head down. That'd be perfectly fine. Either way, we're keeping that pelvis nice and still, keeping those lowest ribs anchored to the mat and that belly drawn toward the spine. Switch it for 3, for 2, and for 1. Pull that second knee into the chest, give them a hug, curl that upper body down if it's been lifted, and release the neck muscles. We'll roll those shoulders back and down for 3, for 2, and for 1. Let's take our feet back down to the mat, arms down by our sides, and we'll rock those knees side to side as well, letting the lower half of the body take a little breather. Big breath in through the nose, big breath out through the mouth. One more time, big breath in through the nose, big breath out through the mouth. Let's come right back to the center. We're gonna take that leg farthest from our screen, stretch it up toward the ceiling, hang on behind that thigh. Draw the belly in and let's slide our opposite leg out straight. Hold it there. Flex and point that lifted leg. Give that hamstring and all that connective tissue behind the knee a chance to stretch out. We'll draw that belly down and let's take our arms up to the ceiling. Anchor the blades, anchor the ribs, and anchor that belly button down toward the floor. Let's keep that lifted leg nice and tall, and we'll take it side to side, drawing a horizontal line on that ceiling. If you'd like more support, we could always bring the hands down, and it's completely fine to have that knee bent. It could be a little bit bent, it could be at tabletop. If you need a second modification, the foot could be down, and we could simply take that knee side to side. Let's repeat here for 3, for 2, for 1, and then let's move to circles. We could hover that supporting leg up off the floor if you'd like. Maybe we take our arms up to the ceiling to challenge that core a little differently. Let's circle the other way. Here's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hang on behind that thigh. We're gonna roll those shoulders back and down and take that supporting leg down to the mat. Pull that knee into the chest. We'll hang on to the bent knee now and draw it across the body, rocking it toward the screen, letting the opposite hip lift up off the mat for 3, for 2, and for 1. Take it right back to the middle, switch up those legs. Pull that other knee into the chest, slide the other leg out along the mat, and we'll stretch that opposite leg up for our hamstring stretch, flexing and pointing. Big breath in, big breath out. Draw the belly down as we point those toes, hold everything there. Good. Let's take those arms to the ceiling. Drop those blades, drop that breastbone, drop that belly. We could take that leg side to side with the arms lifted. We could take them down to the sides, give them a little more support. Take that leg out to the side, back to the center, press those shoulder blades down. Again, we could have our knee bent. We could have that foot resting on the floor, and we could think about taking that knee out to the side. The biggest thing we want to think about is keeping those hip bones pointed like headlights all the way to the ceiling. All right, let's move to circles. Again, maybe those arms are up to the ceiling. Maybe we hover that supporting leg up off the mat. Let's circle the other way. Here's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring that leg up nice and tall. We're gonna hang on behind that thigh, bend that knee to 90 degrees, and let's raise the other one leg up to meet it in that supported 90-90 tabletop position. The hands are acting as a little sling for the thighs. We're gonna draw that belly in and roll those shoulders back and down as we take our arms up to the ceiling. Flex those feet, give your ankles a little bit of something different to do. We're gonna take that arm farthest away from the screen, back overhead, reach it to the wall. Let's press that other heel forward, long diagonal. Inhale it back to the center, exhale and switch. Inhale, center, exhale, switch. Inhale, center, exhale, switch. Let's keep it moving here at your own speed. Nice, smooth motions. If you want to make it a little more challenging, press that heel toward the wall, just a little closer to the floor here. Lengthen out a little further, increase the leverage on those abdominals. Good. Let's hold wherever you are. We're going to keep the arm and leg in opposition here. We're going to straighten out that bent knee a bit, maybe all the way if you can. We can hold on behind those thighs again and point those toes. Nod the chin, curl that upper body up if you wish, and we'll move to our straight leg stretches. We'll lift the other leg up. We'll float the opposite leg toward the floor. Lift and switch. Lift and switch. Picture two scissor blades passing each other, keeping those knees either straight or bent to the same angle as we go through our range. Here's 3. Here's 2. Here's 1. Let's pull them into the chest, roll that upper body down, and let's rock it side to side. Coming right back to the middle, we'll roll our shoulders down again. Let's take our hands down to the mat, knees to tabletop, belly drawn down. Straighten out those legs as best we can, and let's open those feet out to a narrow V. Find the first spot where you feel a little stretch to those inner thighs, pressing into the mat. Maybe we can take those legs a little farther. Inhale them together. Exhale and open. Inhale together. Exhale and open. Twice more in. Open to V. Last one together. Open to V. Bring them to the center. Keeping that belly drawn in, we're going to draw some circles in opposite direction on the ceiling with our toes. You are welcome to make that circle a little bit bigger if you'd like to challenge that stability through the trunk and pelvis a bit more. You could shorten the range if you'd like. As we circle the other way, keep in mind we could also have bent knees with this one. It's almost going to feel like a little reverse breaststroke kick if those knees are bent. Let's circle final 2 and 1. Bring those feet to the ceiling. Bend up those knees. We're going to line our heels up with our sit bones as we press the heels into the mat. And let's move through our pelvic clock. We'll take it 12 to 6 for 4. For 3, widen those collarbones away from the middle of the body. Last 1, curl to 12, release to 6. Take it back to neutral. We'll rock that pelvis from 3 to 9. Again, from 3 to 9. One final time, 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Right back to the center. We'll keep that belly drawn in. Inhale. And as we exhale, bring those heels a little closer to the sit bones. Press through those feet, and we're going to lift up into bridge. Find that first natural stopping point, and then keeping that belly in, those heels pressed into the floor. See if you can lift a fraction of an inch higher till we feel some length through the front of those thighs. We're going to hold here for a second. What I want you to see is assess how your back feels with this. If you feel any compression in your low back that you cannot change by pulling in that core a little more, lower that bottom down a little bit further. Big breath in, exhale, bridge it down. Let's bridge through, repeating at your own speed, driving those heels through the floor, taking those hips toward the ceiling. We're stretching our knees to the wall in front of us, and we're going to hold that bridge up there at the top. Let's go up and down on our toes. Lift the heels and lower. Lift them up, lower them down. Lift and lower, lift and lower. Press through those toes for 4. Big toe in particular. Here's 3. Here's 2. Feel those glutes working. Last 1. Press those heels into the floor. Take a big breath in. Exhale, bridging down. Release at the bottom. Let's take those knees side to side for a brief rest. Big breath in. Big breath out. One more time. Big breath in. Big breath out. Coming right back to the center. We'll reset those sit bones in line with our heels. Press through those heels, lifting back up into bridge. Keeping those feet nice and flat against the floor. We'll take that knee closest to the screen and open it out to the side. Float it back to the center, switch it up. Repeat, alternating through at your own pace. Keep those hip bones nice and lifted. Keep that belly and spine gently drawn toward each other. Alternate through. Coming back to the middle, big breath in. Exhale, bridge it down. Release at the bottom. We're going to bridge back up with our exhale. We'll hold here as we press our hands down into the mat. Let's march. Keep those hips lifted as we take 1 to tabletop and back down. Press through that opposite heel, other foot lifts up. Let's alternate. We'll march side to side for 8, 7, 6, 5, last 4, 3, 2, and 1. Press that second heel down to the floor. Take a big breath in. Exhaling, we'll control that body down to the mat. Release those glutes at the bottom. Let's roll from 12 to 6. Breathing in and breathing out. Take that pelvis to neutral, and we'll rock from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Good. Again, 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Take it right back to the middle. We're going to cross that ankle closest to the screen over to the far knee. Draw that crossed over leg out to the side slightly. Find that hip rotator area. We could lift up into our figure 4 stretch if you'd like, holding it there. We could rock our body gently away from that screen to get into that hip a little bit further. Big breath in. Exhale, let's come back to the center. Feet come down, unwind it, opposite side, heel to the knee. Press that cross knee over to the side. Lift up into figure 4 if you'd like, and we can gently rock the body toward that screen, opening up into those opposite rotators. Big breath. Exhale. Let's pull back to the middle. Unwind the legs, give those knees one final hug here, and we'll take our feet down to the floor. Take the heels of the hands right to those hip bones. We're going to point our fingers forward, just like we did when standing in the beginning of class, and feel those fingertips come just below the belly button. And let's straighten our legs out as best we can. All right, if when those legs are straight, you really feel like you can't control your pelvis and it's tipping exaggeratedly so toward the front, toward your feet, try to draw it back toward that 12 o'clock position. If not, it's okay to bend those knees a bit. We're going to try to keep them as straight as we can, and we're going to take our arms up to the ceiling. Palms face in on each other. Let's picture a string at the crown of the head, drawing the back of the head long toward the wall behind it, and strings at the toes are drawing your feet forward. We're going to nod the chin toward the neck, drop those shoulder blades and that breastbone toward the floor, which will activate a little bit of those upper abdominal muscles. We're going to drop the lowest ribs and the belly down to the mat as well. And let's take those arms back overhead. Keep those connections with the floor as best you can. When your arms hit a point where you can't stretch through any tightness through those armpits or through those upper arms, pause with them right there. If you feel like you're blowing past it, you just think about just barely hovering those thumbs up off the floor. We're going to lift one foot up and down and then the other. Try to keep that pelvis still enough that you could balance something on it. If your knees are bent, we're moving through a march. Pelvis still stays nice and still. Alternate for 8, 7, 6, 5. Here's 4, 3, 2. And 1. Drop those feet to the floor. Big breath in, stretch those arms back overhead. Exhale them up to the ceiling, down to the floor in front of us. We'll bend up our knees and let's turn over to hands and knees. If you'd like to grab your towel roll to pad up those knees, now is a good time. It'll go right below those kneecaps, right at the top of the shin. Let's get ourselves oriented on all fours. We'll draw that belly in and we'll move through a couple of cats and cows. Just recalibrate now that we're facing the floor instead of getting feedback from the floor on our spines. One more time, curl it up and release. Let's come right back to the middle, wag that tail side to side, hip to shoulder for 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. Let's take it back to neutral, hold it there. Let's squeeze and press our shoulder blades, getting some little scapular push-ups. We're really using those outer borders of the shoulder blades and surrounding muscles to keep our arms nice and stable. Push through those blades. If you'd like to make it more challenging, let's move to single arm. We'll take one hand up to the thigh, square those shoulders off to the floor, and press up and down through that supporting arm. Switch sides. Hand comes to the thigh, squeeze and press. And squeeze and press. Keep it going. Let's take that second hand down. We're going to turn those toes under again. Press the balls of the feet into the floor. With that belly drawn in and the heels of the hands pressing into the floor, let's see if we can unweight those knees just a touch from the floor. Lift them up just a touch and then float them back down. Again, lift, float them down. Feel those shoulder blade muscles working. Lift, float them down. One more time, lift those knees, float them down. We'll turn the tops of the toes to the floor. Let's reach one leg back behind the body. Opposite arm stretches out in front. Switch it through. We're going to reach through a range where we can keep that pelvis nice and still. We want to keep that low back in a position where we could balance something on the small of the back and we wouldn't lose it, either through too much arching or reverse arching or from rotation. Good. Let's hold that opposite position. We're going to keep the leg where it is. Switch those arms. Switch and lift if you can. Shift and lift. As we shift toward the same side, arm and leg lifting up, even if those fingertips are down, we're still doing a good bit of work to challenge that balance. Let's bring our hands and knees down. We'll stretch that opposite leg back behind the body. Opposite arm comes up first. Find your bearings. And then we'll switch those hands. Shift, lift, shift and reach diagonally. Shift and lift. Shift and reach. One more time. Shift and lift. Shift and come to the diagonal reach. We'll take the hand down and the knees down. Cat and cow, curl and release. One more time. And release. Excuse me, coming right back to neutral. Let's take our feet together, knees apart. We'll bring that bottom down toward the heels. Walk those hands forward for a brief break in this child's pose tight position. Forehead draws down, big breath in. As we exhale, drop those forearms to the floor. We're going to keep our legs in a position right where they are at first. Then let's shift our weight over those forearms and bring those shins in till your shins are parallel to each other and the knees are just a little bit wider than the shoulders and elbows. All right, belly stays drawn in. We're going to keep our knees bent. That leg closest to the screen is going to press up and lower down. Press, release, press, release, press, release. Here's 4, 3, 2. Hold it up there. Pulse to the ceiling for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Straighten and bend that knee. Thigh stays nice and still as the heel comes to the bottom and away. Good, keep it moving. Press those forearms into the floor for stability. Here's 3. Here's 2. Here's 1. Straighten that leg. We'll take our toes down, switch it up. Keeping that opposite leg bent, we'll draw that belly to the spine. Float that bent leg up, control it to the mat. Lift and lower, lift and lower. Nice work. Here's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Pulse it to the ceiling. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hamstring curl, straighten and bend. Keep that thigh as still as you can. Good, straighten and bend. All right, here's 3. Here's 2. Here's 1. Straighten that leg. We'll draw that leg back into neutral position. Feet together, knees apart. Push back, bringing the bottom to the heels. Extend those arms, reach them forward overhead. Big breath in. Breathe it out. Let's walk our hands toward our screen, coming into a bit of a side bend, and we'll breathe into that opposite side of the rib cage. Exhale, let's walk them over to the other side. Hand over hand, big breath in. Breathe it out. Let's walk those hands to the middle. We're going to come up to our knees, cat and cow again, curl and release. One more time, curl it up and release. Take it back to neutral, and we'll come forward into a long sitting position. We're still going to face lengthwise on our mat. The feet are going to be forward. Heels are going to line up in a narrow V. So the big thing we want to shoot for is a vertical alignment from the trunk and pelvis all the way up to the crown of the head. If the knees need to be bent to get there to accommodate for leg tightness, that's okay. If you want to have them all the way straight, that's fine as well. And we can flex those feet wherever we are. We're going to bring those arms up in line with our legs, that same narrow V. Belly's drawn in, and let's hinge forward, hinge into that stretch, and then come up tall. Hinge forward, lengthen those fingertips out toward the wall. Come up nice and tall. Twice more, hinge and reach. Take it up. One final time, hinge. Take it up tall. We're going to float those arms out to the side. They can be lined up with your body or slightly in front in that shoulder blade plane, that plane of comfort there. With the belly drawn in, we're going to exhale and rotate our breastbone toward the screen. Rotate, rotate, take it back to the center. Repeat on the other side. Exhale, rotate, rotate, and center. Repeat, rotate, rotate, and center. Last set, rotate, rotate, and center. We'll take those arms down, roll those shoulders back and down. We'll bring our feet and knees together, shaking out those knees. And let's bend at the knees, lining those heels up with our sit bones. We're going to hold on behind those thighs, give them a little sling with your arms, roll them back and down, and let's inch our heels closer to our bottoms, letting ourselves come back into a small diagonal. Belly stays in, and let's bring our arms out to that same narrow V that we were working earlier. You should feel your abdominals working a bit. We're gonna rock our knees toward one hand and toward the other. A little rotation through that trunk. Take them side to side. If you wanna make this harder, we bring those legs up a little bit higher, those arms rather, up a little higher. Hands and shoulders are lined up in that diagonal. Good. Take them back to the center and let's take our hands to the outsides of the thighs. We're pressing the hands and thighs toward each other. Lift a leg up and down, and then the other. Keep that pressure through the thighs. You'll feel those side muscles working a bit. Good. Draw those heels to the floor. Open up the arm closest to the screen. Feel that opposite side muscle working a bit more. Inhale it to the center. Exhale, switch. Open. Inhale, center. Exhale, open. Inhale and center. One more time. Exhale, open. Inhale, center. Grab onto those shins. Pull yourself up nice and tall. And we'll do a couple of seated cat-cows. Curl it and release it. Take a few deep breaths. All right, we'll come up nice and tall. Hands come back to the floor behind the body. You can turn those fingertips out if you need to take some pressure off the wrists. We're going to straighten the elbows and squeeze the blades together. You might get a little stretch through the front of the body. You might get a little stretch through the biceps, through the front side of the top part of the arm. We're going to send our breastbone toward where the wall and ceiling meet in front of us. And if there's any more slack to take out of the system, try to do so by reaching that bottom a little closer to the heels. You want to make sure you keep those blades squeezed back behind you though. All right, we're going to take 3 deep breaths here before we move on. We can keep that bottom down or we can press to reverse tabletop. Pick your position. We'll hold for a big breath. Exhale. Twice more. Big breath in. Breathe it out. One final time. Inhale. Exhaling. Let's take that bottom down. We'll turn and face our screen in cross-legged or as close as we can come to cross-legged. If you have a little towel roll and your hips are a little stiff, you're welcome to sit on that towel roll to get you elevated a bit. We're going to hold here with those fingertips down to the floor. Let's take a big breath in. Exhaling. We're going to take one hand up, make a nice diagonal with the other arm. And let's take the heel of the hand to the floor and reach up into a nice tall side bend. Press that hand into the mat. Inhale up, opposite diagonal, hand comes down and press into the floor. We'll take that other arm up and over. Inhale up, exhale, side bend. One more time to each. Inhale up and exhale, side bend. Good, come up nice and tall. And we're gonna make our way to our knees with that towel roll under the knees if you need a little more cushion. Once we're there, we'll bring our hands to our hips. Let's take one foot out to the side, drop those hips till they're square, and we'll hinge forward, accentuating that inner thigh stretch on the straight leg side. Take it up tall. Twice more, hinge it forward. Bring it up. Last time, hinge it forward. Take it up tall, arms come out for a big breath in, and exhale, side bend toward that bent knee. Inhale up, exhale, side bend toward the straight knee. One more time here. Inhale up, exhale and side bend. Inhale up, exhale, side bend. Let's come up tall. We'll bring that second knee back to the floor, hands to the hips, lengthen that opposite leg out. Find that inner thigh stretch and we'll hinge it forward. Inhale and up. Twice more, hinge forward. Inhale up. One more. Bring it up tall, arms come out, big breath in and exhale, side bend toward that bent knee. Inhale up and over. One final time here, side bend toward that bent knee. Inhale it up and over. We'll come down to that kneeling position, arms by our sides. Let's roll those shoulders back for 4, for 3, 2, and 1. Flip those palms forward. We'll squeeze them together, bringing the hands back behind the body. Pulse your fingertips toward each other for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Good job. Press them together, big breath in. Exhale, arms come down, shake out those shoulders a little, and we'll make our way down onto our sides. All right, we're gonna rest that head on the lower arm. Knees are forward, heels line up with the bottom. Take that top hand to the floor, press those feet down, and we'll lift our knees up and down. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Knees stay down, feet come up, feet come down. Keep that breastbone nice and still. Keep that waistline lifted. Lift and lower those feet. Lift and hold. Top knee presses up and down again. Good. And 1. Knees and feet come down. Fire hydrant lift. Top leg comes up. Top leg comes down. Twice more. Back to hip height with that knee. Circle in that fire hydrant position. Take that knee, draw a nice little circle on the wall in front of you. Circle the other way. Here's 4. Here's 3. Try to keep that other half of the body nice and still. Here's 1. Line up your knees with each other. Straighten your bottom leg out. Top foot comes down to the bottom knee. Take that top knee down and up for 4. 3, 2, 1. Stretch that top leg out. Take it up, down, lift and lower, lift and lower, lift to hip height circle for 4. For 3, press that bottom leg into the floor. Circle the other way. Take it backwards for 4. 3, 2, 1. Top hand comes to the floor. Bottom leg stays nice and tight through those quads. Top leg stays still. Bottom leg comes up and down while that top leg stays nice and still like a little marker. Here's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Take them down. Bend up those knees and pat out that hip. Good job. We'll take it up and over to the other side. All right, bend up those knees, line those heels up with our sit bones. Hand presses into the floor, feet stay down, lift those knees for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Knees come down, waistline stays still, lift those feet up for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Good, feet lift and stay there, top knee comes up and down. 3, 2, 1. Knees and feet come down for fire hydrants. Press that bottom leg firmly into the mat. Here's 3. Here's 2. Here's 1. Let's move to circles. Circle moving from that knee, rotating out of that hip joint. Circle the other way. Here's 4. Here's 3. Home stretch, guys. Here's 1. Line that leg up with the bottom leg. Straighten that bottom leg out and take your top foot down. Knees come up and down for 4. Press the bottom leg down into the mat. Last 2. Last 1. Straighten out that top leg. Take it up and down. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Last 1. Lift up to hip height. Circle that leg forward. Here's 4, 3, 2. Reverse for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold that top leg at hip height. Bottom leg comes up and down to meet it. Last 8. Here's 4. Pull from that inner thigh. 2, 1. Bring them down. Bend up those knees. Pat out your hip. Nice work. Let's turn to our backs. Line up the heels with the hips. And just like we did after bridging, let's give those glutes a little stretch. We'll cross one leg over. Pull to figure 4 if you need to. Take a couple breaths in and out as we gently rock that body side to side. Let's come back to the middle, switch it up. Opposite heel to the knee. Let's pull up into our figure 4 and rock it side to side. All right, come back to the middle, unwind. Let's pull those knees into the chest and rock them side to side. Take those heels down. We're going to turn ourselves over to hands and knees. Twice more. We'll go through cat and cow, curling and releasing. Curling and releasing. Let's take it back to neutral. Wag that tail side to side. Take them back to the center. Turn those toes under. We're going to walk our hands back toward our knees. Push ourselves over to flat feet. And once we're right over those ankle joints, we'll come up nice and tall to standing. Shake out those legs. We'll finish with a quick balance walk through. If you have something to hold on to, go ahead and grab it now. We're going to start with our feet hip width apart. Just get our bearings on both feet. We'll settle into the front of those ankle joints, roll those shoulders back and down. Let's shift our weight toward the toes. Hover the heels up off the mat, and let's take those heels and lift them up and down for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's shift our weight toward the middle of the ankle again. Shift our weight to one side. We're going to stand heel to toe. Let's hold it here in balance. Hold for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's step to that back leg. We'll take the other foot up. So we're resting in single leg balance. Resting. 8, 7, 6, 5. Lift that head up. 3, 2, and 1. Let's step to our other side. We'll shift over to our heel toe standing position. Find that balance point and hold for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shift the weight back toward that back foot. Lift up into your single leg balance. Rest here. Good. Hold for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice work. Let's take those legs apart. Shake out those knees. And with those feet shoulder width apart, we'll start class similarly, or finish class similarly to how we started. This time we'll clasp those palms, press them to the ceiling. Maybe there's a little more mobility through those shoulders and trunks now. Dropping the blades down to the floor. We'll take a tall side bend to one corner. Inhale up and take an exhale to the other side. Inhale those hands up. And as we take our fingertips apart, we'll bring our feet together. Take a big breath in, reaching to the sky. And let's exhale into our center. Thanks for coming, guys. I hope everyone has a really awesome weekend, and I will see you next time around.